Push it to the limit, I can't go no more. Red light, no way, I'm coming back home. Long dirt road, all on my own. I'ma be the greatest, write my name in the stone. Write my name in the stone. Yeah, I'm coming back.
Last week wasn't great. We had a slight issue where we had a puncture and we didn't finish. So I'm back at Brands Hatch, but not in my car. I'm in the Super Tune Fiesta number 75, one of the cars I actually normally race against, with James Seal behind the wheel. So Ian and James, father and son, racing in the number 7 car. Me and Rick Skelzy now in the 75 car for this 30-minute endurance race with the CMMCS at Brands Hatch, just 1 week after my puncture on the Brands GP circuit. So never driven this car before, first time ever sitting in it as we go into qualifying. Got slightly different characteristics to the other Fiesta that I drove at the end of 2021 with Ian in the MSV Track Day Trophy. And on that day I managed to get a 58.2, I think, in my best lap in qualifying after seeing in that car for the first time. So I kind of had that as my sort of aim, but I knew that this car isn't as quick in a straight line. So I think I have more modest expectations, and obviously know that I'm a bit fatter as well. So there's a bit of more weight in the car as well. So regardless, we had some decent cars to chase here. We've got that blue older Fiesta just in front of us here. It won't be as quick as us, but it was a good car to sort of chase, if that makes any sense. And I think, as a few of you guys have left these comments in the comment section, chasing someone really can help you extract a few more tenths of a second out of seemingly nowhere. So that definitely helped, and I guess my big aim was to try and get under a minute, which we managed to do on this last lap, which was awesome. After only a couple of laps in the car, I was pretty happy with that. I think for some reason with these Fiestas I can get in them and feel confident quite quickly, quite straight away, and it's not the case with all the cars I drive. So that was a pretty decent lap. We're into the 59s with this one, which I was pretty happy about, and it's only a 15-minute qualifying session for 2 drivers to get in there and actually drive, so I had to hand over to Rick as quickly as possible to give him some laps as well. So that was the plan. So did my laps. That was my best lap, my last one. So I'd come into the pits here, and then I would hand over to Rick and he would go and set his lap times. Well, that's what we thought was going to happen. So I rolled out to the pit lane here. We've got Rick and the Super Tune guys ready to look at the car and swap over with about 6 or 7 minutes of the session remaining. But you see there's some smoke coming out of the bonnet. Well, at first we didn't really think much of it, and the marshal's just pointing it out so the guys can have a quick look at it. But when they opened the bonnet, they were in for a bit of a surprise. A bit of the, I think, exhaust wrap had caught fire under the bonnet there, because Rick was about to get in, and then when he hears the marshal shout fire, he gets out and has a look. That was a shame. That was a tough one, and I guess a bit frustrating for all of us that we didn't manage to get the race in. Not just myself, obviously Rick as well, and obviously the Super Tune guys who obviously prepare some really fantastic cars. For a little thing like that to unfortunately happen is a tough one for everyone to take, and considering our pace in qualifying was actually pretty good. We didn't get the class pole, that went to a Clio, but we were ahead of the other guys in the Fiesta, which was quite good. That was nice for us. So that was our aim, and we managed to do that in qualifying, but unfortunately we couldn't take that into the race because of the issue. But it is what it is. It's motorsport. Unfortunately, 2 tough things have happened 2 weeks in a row, and I think I've had a lot of good fortune throughout this season. So to have 2 bad weekends is just what it is, and unfortunately they came back to back, but it's just one of those things, and move on from it, and hopefully we'll get the chance to race that car in the future. But move to the end of the month, Castle Combe, 29th of August, the bank holiday Monday, and I thought, I want to get out there. My car's still not fixed because I'm not being proactive and not going to get it fixed. And yeah, that meant that I didn't have my car available, so we did have the Fiesta, the blue Fiesta that I finished my first race in, obviously with Chris Bicknell back in 2019. We shared this car to a class victory at Brands Hatch, and I'm back out in it again, I think for the first time since the end of last year, but for the first proper time since that moment in 2019, because that Snetterton race we did ended up being, for me at least, one behind a safety car for the whole race. So that was tough, but this was an opportunity for me to get back out in this car, the one that Liam drives with the CMMCS. You can see his Pauling name badge there in the car. He drives in the CMMCS with me for the majority of this season, and it's nice for me to get back in this car. I feel like I'm more confident than I was at the end of last year when I wasn't getting much time in the Honda. I wasn't feeling particularly comfortable, I guess, racing. I wasn't really in the right mindset, but towards the latter part of 2022 I feel like I'm back into the right mindset. I'm actually starting to enjoy it more than I did. Because to be honest, throughout 2021, I was really struggling. I wasn't really enjoying it a huge amount. There were some good moments, don't get me wrong, but I was struggling to really enjoy racing, which is stupid because, you know, you spend all this money and then if you're not enjoying it, just don't do it. And I guess I was just trying to get over a mental block that was really tough, throughout 2021 and the first part of 2022. And I think finally in the latter part of this year, I've started to feel mentally in the right place and start to enjoy this properly once more. And now I'm enjoying motorsport and enjoy racing more than I ever have, which I guess is a big thing. Now I know I'm never going to be the best driver in the world. That wasn't a particularly good lap there, but I set myself some targets. I wanted to get into the 123s with this car because that's what I did with the other Saxo at the start of the year, and I wanted to get into the 23s, which I managed to do in this first race here. So this is the saloons. We entered in 3 races: the saloons, the hot hatch, and also the GTs. I was like, I'm borrowing this car for the day. I want to use as much track time as possible, or get as much track time as possible, should I say. So the car's already off the track on the right hand side, and not had the greatest of starts there, but welcome to my channel. That happens every single race I do. So my aim at this point, I knew the only car I was really going to have a battle with in this race is this yellow Fiesta in front, because the cars in front are just insanely quick in comparison to this car. So that's why I set my sights on this yellow Fiesta here, which I have a bit of a sweet spot for, this style of car. Actually, one of the cars that my granddad had, his last ever car actually was one of these. So I always have a bit of a sweet spot for cars of this generation Fiesta. So yeah, nice to battle one out on track. Now, interestingly, he's in the bottom class, and you can see in terms of straight line performance, if anything, he's probably got a little bit on me. I'm in the slipstream and not really keeping up with him. You know, he's only pulling away like a little bit, but he definitely was quite quick in a straight line. But I felt like I had the momentum mid-corner, which he didn't have. So I guess maybe low-end power he doesn't really have. But by the end of the straight, we're definitely similar. But over a lap, I knew I was quicker. I knew I needed to get this overtake done. So trying to look one way or the next, he starts to defend, which is obviously completely the right thing to do. We're in a race at the end of the day. But this sort of made me think, where am I going to get this overtake done? Because I'm not actually sure where I'm quicker. I know on the lap times that I'm quicker, but where am I actually going to get this overtake done? So right up in his slipstream here, I looked at the inside. I had the little lift off there because I thought he was going to block the inside line. But I dived to the inside, get the overtake done. And I was quite happy with that one actually there. I mean, I know we're battling at the back in the slowest cars, but it was a nice clean battle with Mr. Good in the Fiesta, and I really enjoyed that there. And then at this point I was sort of getting my head down, started setting some decent lap times, and by the end of the race we were actually starting to catch up to the group in front, which was actually quite nice for me. I started to catch up to Sutton in this MG. Now this MG in front, actually a lot of the cars in the saloons are incredibly quick, so it's always tough even in my Honda to keep up with most of them. So I was quite happy with how I was going in this one. I think Sutton had a bit of an issue with this car, so he wasn't able to extract sort of maximum pace out of it here. But overall, I was catching up towards the end of the race. I managed to get into the 23s straight away in my first race, which is exactly what I wanted. So at that point I was like, okay, that was cool, but can I go a bit quicker? Well, let's see as the day goes on what I can do. But fun race there. That was my first race of 3 here at Castle Combe, but an enjoyable one in the saloons. I got a nice little battle early on, and I was starting to catch up towards another car at the end. It's always going to be tough in the saloons when it's such a small grid to battle with someone, but a grid that's going to be even tougher to battle with someone is the GTs. Now, I was just entering it because I had the car, so like, why not? I don't really want to come to a race weekend and just do one race and one qualifying session, especially because Castle Combe's so far. So I was like, I'm just going to enter every single event my car's eligible for, and that turned out to be a good thing. A really enjoyable race here in terms of going quicker. I didn't qualify last. There's proof there. That Vauxhall Tigra silhouette went past me. He qualified behind me, but of course he's going to be quicker in the race. But didn't technically qualify last. But yeah, I had my sights set on getting a better lap time than the 23 that I did in race 1. Now this car will probably do like a 21 in the right hands, but I'm definitely not the quickest driver, so definitely not the right hands to extract that amount of pace out of it. But still, I was going to do my best to get into the 22s. Tell you what, it could probably do a 20 in the right hands, but yeah, so my aim was to get into the 22s here, and I was going to do my best to do so. Now, unfortunately, we couldn't get the race logic touch rigged up to the car in time. It was sort of a last minute thing to get this car sorted as we let some of these extraordinary cars through. Now, I pulled to the inside here. I thought I braked enough, but I sort of blocked that TCR car off a little bit, which is a shame. I didn't mean to do that at all. I thought I was braking enough for him to just swoop around the outside, but I guess he was not 100% sure what I was going to do, which is completely fair enough. So now for my fastest lap. So backed off into the last corner to give myself room and then sort of planted the throttle. And I love that mid-corner, I'm keeping up with the Porsche. He's on slicks, I'm on some old, knackered tyres. And that was kind of a nice little moment there. Taking what I can out of this race here. But yeah, this was my best lap. Now, on reflection, of course, they're always going to say, I'm always going to say, I could gain more time out of here. But I think you can certainly see I'm starting to get a bit close to the limit, which is nice. I think the way that this car drives, look at the steering wheel. I think you're constantly battling something. So even though you're going in a straight line, your hands are all over the place trying to dance on the steering wheel to try and keep it just going in a straight line. It's a crazy little car, this, and huge respect to guys that are quick in these cars because they are not easy to drive. Obviously, I'm not one of them. Let's mention Liam, because he drives this with the CMMCS, and obviously Steve, he's a bit of a master in these cars as well. But of course, Chris and Marcus Bicknell as well are always quick in these Saxos. It's always interesting to see what they can do with these cars sometimes. It's always special to see them go up against much quicker cars. So even though this is my best lap, obviously still some big places where I can improve, just keeping the momentum up, just braking a tad later. But the thing is with the Sax, I've always struggled with is just the confidence on the brakes with it, because you're never 100% sure whether it's going to stop when you want it to stop. So yeah, not a terrible lap there. I think it looked pretty smooth and consistent, or as smooth and consistent as it can be in a car like this. So happy with that, and a big thanks to all the marshals and everyone trackside for sort of cheering me on. And I think it's ironic claps, but I do always hear some claps when I race in the GTs, probably because I'm just competing and getting out of people's way. People find it a bit funny, which is completely fair enough. So this wasn't due to be our last race, but unfortunately it was, because the Hot Hatch race got cancelled due to an incident in the other race, which, yeah, of course, you never want to see incidents in other races, and there was a lot of time being taken up due to the recovery and everything. The driver had to be taken to hospital. So, okay, we lost the race, but more importantly, the driver, from the reports I've heard, is okay, and fingers crossed to be back out in a race car at some point. And yeah, so we lost our race, but at the same time, I'm just happy that the driver involved in that incident was okay. So, time for a bit of reflection there on that race and this weekend and this month in general. It's always the case, I forget to wrap up the video. But yeah, it's been a bit of an up and down month, hasn't it? So we started the month with a really good event at Castle Combe, setting some of our best laps ever around there on sort of not so good, pretty old tyres. So I was really happy with that. Then we had the puncture the week after at Brands, which was gutting. And then with what we've been speaking about in this video here today, last week with the issue at Brands Hatch with the Fiesta, I guess I was just in that phase. I just couldn't believe it. I sort of wasn't really sad in the moment, just because it's like I was still sad from last week. I hadn't really had a chance to be happy, or think of positive thoughts in between the week in between. So yeah, that was really unfortunate. I really gutted to not even start that race, not even get a chance to do some racing. I was happy to out-qualify the other car in the team, considering I'd never stepped in that car before. So to get into it straight away and be quicker than the other car, which is undoubtedly faster, was quite good. It's a big shame for Rick to not get any time in the car whatsoever. I'm quite gutted to be perfectly honest, because we paid the entry fee, we shared the entry fee, and then he didn't get to, well, I suppose he sat in the car, but he didn't even get to go out the pit lane, which is really gutting. It's just one of those things, not anyone's fault. It's just one of those unfortunate things with racing. Sometimes it happens, and obviously it's just happened unfortunately for me 2 weeks in a row, so that meant that August wasn't the greatest month. But then we had this most recent event at Castle Combe, which was quite good, on the bank holiday, Monday, where, to be perfectly honest, I really enjoyed myself. I was using the Saxo as mentioned, because I just didn't have the Honda sort of ready in time after the puncture still. It will be ready for the next one, don't worry, but it's just, yeah, it always takes longer than I should expect. Just because I delay it, and I keep delaying it myself. It's not because other people are slow, it's because I'm the one not being proactive, getting it sorted. So yeah, it is what it is. It'll be sorted for the next one at Snetterton, which I'm looking forward to. So yeah, that'd be awesome. But yeah, the last sort of few days at Coscoombe, yeah, I really enjoyed that with the Saxo. So that was good fun. Set some decent laps, lap times. They weren't amazing, but I beat my goal. My goal was to get into the 123s, which I think I did in the first race, and then I went into 122s by the last bit. So it's not amazing, don't get me wrong. I mean, that car can obviously go quicker than that, but I was pretty happy with that lap time, all things considered. So yeah, really enjoyed the weekend at Coscoombe. Shame that the last race was cancelled for us, the hot hatches, but at the same time, I'm sort of more concerned about the driver that was involved in the incident. I think from what we understand, he is okay. Obviously not 100% after a big incident like that, but I think he is okay, which is the main thing. So yeah, obviously I personally don't really mind having my race cancelled. I'd much rather someone was okay and you know, be able to go racing again. So fingers crossed that'll be the case for them. Hopefully they can get back out in the car at some point to make sure that isn't their last moment in the race car. But regardless, my month's been a bit up and down, but we move on to the next thing, which will be Snetterton with the CMMTS, which I'm looking forward to. So yeah, let's look forward to that. Let's hope that it goes well, and hopefully we'll return to being competitive again. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you around soon. Goodbye.